Well, hello and welcome to what is absolutely my all-time favourite show, Craft Along, this fine Saturday afternoon. My name's Debby Robinson, for those of you don't know, but we have got a great Craft Along lined up for you. 2 for the price of 1 today, ladies and gentlemen. That's what you're getting. Now, I know we're not live. This isn't live right now, but there is one of our lovely social superstars on there, on the page with you. So if you want to get chatting amongst yourselves or ask any questions, then please feel free to do so. But today's Craft Along is all about the Time for Tea collection, which is one of my favourite collections. I absolutely love this concept card where you get the die set and the paper pad to be able to create magnificent pieces like this. Now, this is what we're going to make for the first one, because I'm going to show you how you are going to use your die set along with the Time for Tea die cutter topper set. But I am going to show you how you can take that and beyond. Now, I know that you've got the paper pad there. There are 20 separate individual cake stands that you can be making with your Time for Tea designs. And I know at the back of it, there's the little QR code that can take you through to the digital downloads as well. However, you're getting a die set, and I want you to be able to create something that little bit different with it afterwards as well. And when I say afterwards, I mean things like, and I'm just going to show you a few, things that you have in your crafty stash, and all the different papers that you can cut this out in. I love this one with the cute little Christmas character stamps, the little penguin there. So these are the kind of things that you can be doing beyond. It doesn't necessarily just have to be the Time for Tea. And another fabulous one, and I have lit this up, but I think this is absolutely beautiful. Little light up. Oh my goodness, that is absolutely stunning with your LED lights. And look how pretty that is when you cut it out into your different papers. So yes, you've got a fantastic collection with a specific concept, but beyond that concept, you can take it into absolutely everything else that you have in your crafty stash too. Right, I can hear you screaming and shouting through the screen. What is it? What are the ingredients, Debbie? Well, let me tell you what you need for this Craft Along. So you are going to, of course, need your Time for Tea die cut topper pad and the 3D stand. That's the metal die set. I've also thrown in here the circle nesting dies, because we are going to make somewhere for you to be able to write at the back of your card as well. Now, the other things that you need, because I'm going to be using the Graceful Plumes. So the Graceful Plumes 12x12 paper pad, Proud Peacock stamp and die set, the Graceful Plumes linen cardstock, a Finesse alcohol-proof ink pad along with the tri-blends. You need a stamping platform and mat. And then you're also going to need some alcohol marker card or Nina paper or cardstock. And then along that, you're going to need things like A4 die cutting machine, which of course is the G2. You're also going to need all your glues, so all-purpose glue, tacky glue, maybe some ribbon and twine as well, and maybe a few little gems if you want to zhuzh this up. And then for this initial one, you're also going to need some pink cardstock and lilac cardstock. But of course, this is your Time for Tea project. You can put this and cut this in any colour you want, because when you take a look at that topper pad, there are lots of different themes in there and lots of different colours as well. I'm just going to move that along there for you. So when you look inside, you'll see all the beautiful designs. There are 5 designs in here, so you can see the different colour palettes. So whichever one you choose, you just decide on your linen card to match. Now, the reason for this one, what I'm using, is this particular one that I've chosen, pinks and lilacs, is because there's a little bit of pink in there and a lovely lilac design as well. But when you look at those designs, you've got that rich burgundy colour, you've got that gorgeous green, a yellow, and then the blue one as well. So think about your design and think about the colour palette that you want to match. So I'll show you how to use this as it is. Now, this would apply to the digital downloads as well. Now, on the back of your pad, that's exactly where it takes you. So you just zap that QR code, and that QR code will take you to those digital versions. So make sure that you do that if you want more of those toppers. You'll just, of course, have to fussy cut them out yourself, because they'll come as solids rather than what these are. So I'm going to take all of these out like so, and then we're going to just pop all of those out, and I'll show you how the basis of this particular die set works. And then, like I said, I mean, I might have set myself a little bit of a challenge here to get 2 projects done in the hour, but I think it's doable. I think it's doable. So we'll give it our best shot. And if we don't get it finished, of course, your craft alongs you can do in your own time. There's no rush at all with this. But what I'm just going to do is get all these pieces out. Now, some of them might have a little bit of a pip left over. And by a pip, I mean like a little bit of where they attach into the die cut. And that's when you'll just get your little fussy cut scissors, or your little snippers, as we like to call them, just to remove those little pieces that remain in there, but that's just so that they stay in the cardstock during transportation, so to speak. So I'm just going to poke that out. Now then, let's see if I can get that out without stabbing myself today. There we go. And then I'm just going to remove that one as well, because I think we might use both tags, or we'll see when we just get this project going. But can you see here, you've got like a little bit of a pip, so it's just a bit of a cardstock, little tiny trim just to make it nice and neat. I'll just check that one. Yeah, they look all right. Now, this is how you'll have your design. So you'll get your two pieces that look like a mirror image. Now, when it comes to the stamping with the peacock, I'm going to show you how to do the mirror image and what tools you need for that. You've got two of these pieces, and then you've got two tags, and then you've got your base. Now, on your die set, you're also going to get an extra base where this can sit into. So we're going to die cut that bit first. The magic happens with this part of the die. So this is where you get the 3D stand, or the cake stand, and that bit is the magic that creates that lovely boingy little effect, but it does go flat as well. So the first thing I'm going to do is choose a base cardstock. So I'm going to choose the lilac. Now, this was from our pastel paper pad. Of course, depending on what you're using, depends on what cardstock you can use. For a base, for it to stand on, I would have like a construction weight cardstock. You could use your white cardstock, your black cardstock, your craft card. In terms of mount board, you could try to cut it out in mount board to give yourself a really solid base, or you could cut multiple sheets of that and stick them together to create a nice solid base. However, this is a good 250, and that's absolutely fine. The other cardstock that I'm going to use for this die is the pink linen cardstock, and I'll stick both of those on. Now, you are going to need to have a die cutting machine of an A4 size. So if you've got a Gemini 2 or above, and I'm meaning the Gemini Pro, then you'll get this cut out. These dies do not fit onto the Gemini Junior or the Midi, so you will need what's an A-footing? An A4 cutting plate for that to stand on. So I'm just going to move that to one side first, and we'll cut these separately. So just popping that on. We're going to run that through. And I just wanted to re-go over this particular way to die cut this, just so for those people that have never seen this, because it was one that we launched during birthday, where you blinked and you missed it because it sold out that super fast. But we managed to get some more brought back, which is why for anybody that wants to have a little nosy, go and have a little look on the website, check the website out and see if there's anything there for you with this, because I love this die set. It's absolutely fabulous. It's such a cool concept. Now, Debbie, don't rip that. Let's tear that off gently. There we go. So we've got our base. We'll put that to one side. Let's get rid of that bit. Then we're going to come in with the part that creates all of that lovely cake stand effect. Just make sure you've got it taped down. Now, if you don't feel comfortable doing both together at the same time, just maybe cut out your solid piece and then put that one on the inside and run it through again, or cut that out first and then put the circular one over the top. I feel pretty confident with putting them both together, so that's exactly what I'm going to do. You are going to need to put your magnetic shim in there to get that perfect cut. And I say perfect cut, depending on the cardstock that you use, depends whether or not you need to do this twice. And I mean run it through the machine twice because of the intricacy of that die. Now, you could, of course, bring it back and reverse in the reverse. There you go. You could bring it back and do a double cut that way if you wanted to give it a double cut. But what we're going to do is we're going to have a little look at it. If I feel it needs to have an extra cut, I'll run it through again. But I do know that that's just gone through twice, so we'll see if that's worked. And we'll have a little nosy on the other side. And yeah, that's cut through perfectly. So you can see there all the cut marks. So just check your cardstock. Linen cardstock is 250, so it is a construction. Well, I'm saying construction. It's good enough for construction. It's good enough for things like this. But dependent on if you were using an acetate, Myself and Ben, during one of the Innovation Station shows, we actually showed you that when you cut acetate, there's only a certain weight of acetate you can cut. So by that, an heavyweight construction, you wouldn't be able to cut through, but you do need to use your metal shim when you're cutting through acetate, but it has to be the thinner acetate rather than the construction heavyweight one. So that has now cut that out beautifully. What we need to do is tease it into its shape, because right now it's flat and there's no way for it to go. So you can either get your poker tool and just put that underneath, just to hold it with your thumb and stretch the fibres so that you're stretching and getting it used to that shape. You're manipulating it into its place. So if I just pop that across. So now you can see I've manipulated it, it's come out of that so that you've got that spring, because that's what you're wanting to do with that. You don't want it to pull it all the way up to the top, but you can if you want, just to go as far as you want, because you see it's cut all the way through there. If I just show you that. There you go. Now, that's that bit done. Now the next thing we're going to do, because you've got your die cut base, you've got your die cut topper, we've got the pre-cut toppers that we're going to pop onto here. So I'm just going to use this with our all-purpose glue. This is when you can take things like your gems, or you could use your glossy highlights, clear overlay sparkle pen, and really zhuzh that up, put some gems on the inside of there if you wanted to at that point. I'm just going to keep it as it is because, like I said, we have got 2 projects to get through in this hours-long craft along. So I do need to crack on with it. So those are the little bits, those are the little details that you can do when you're at home taking your time. So I'm just going to put that, just flatten all of that out. There we go. Now at this stage, you're not going to stick that onto the top, because if you do, you've got nothing on the inside and it'll become very tricky. So you need to remember this. Now this is when you'll bring in your toppers that you've got from your paper pad. So the thing we need to do is, and the reason why we've done this, why we've put 2 prints and the mirror image, is if you think about this, it's a 360. Whatever angle you put it at, you're going to be able to see it. So you need to see the design, and that's why we've put those in there for you. So the first 2 things that we're going to put together are these 2. This is when you can switch to your tacky glue and or a tape pen, and you could do your tape pen. I'm just going to tacky glue this with my fine tip applicator bottle, as long as there's no blockage again, because I keep getting blockages in mine. I think it's the cold weather. So I'll just, there we go, pop that through. There we go. And then stick those 2 pieces together first and line those up. There we go. And then I'm just going to hold that into place while that tacky glue takes hold. Now, before you do anything else, this needs to go into this. It needs to be in this part, because again, if you stick this down, where's it going to go? How are you going to get that through that hole? Because this is where the little piece fits. So I'm just going to push that down. Now again, we could attach that onto the bottom, but you've got those 2 little anchors above and they need to be below. So you just need to manipulate that into the little hole. So if I just squeeze one side and then the other one comes through quite easy, so that you've got that, into place. So now we're good to go to pop our little teapot on. And again, you've got 2 pieces. Now we'll just say, when you're putting this on, bear in mind how far up you're going to go. And the reason I'm saying that is when you think of this, this is quite stretchy and it can go quite high. But what you need to remember is your placement of your centerpiece. If you have it too low down, when it comes to folding it up and flat onto here, this is going to get bent, or this is going to get bent. So I just want you to bear that in mind. Now, what we recommend is that you put it onto the bottom part of there, and then you've got a little bit of it to play, and you get a really good firm stand. There is a little bit of movement where you can go a little bit, so perhaps about 1/4 of the way up. But any further down, I think you'll be in a bit of spot of bother when it comes to folding it flat. So just bear that in mind as well. So I'm just going to pop my tape pen over the top of this design. Again, you could use tacky glue. I'm just going to come in with my tape pen to get a good stick. And I'm just going to put it first onto, so first part just onto there. I'm going to try and centralise that pot. There we go. And then I'm just going to do the same on the other side. So let's just line that up, and you get that 360 complete look, where no matter which side you put this up, you've got that design running across there. So if I just hold that up, you can see now, dependent on where you go. So just make sure you stick those together nice and firmly. And then we're ready for attaching that onto the base. So this is where you're going to decide on the glue. Now, when you are sticking this down, try and keep it in that shape, because if you flatten that, you might get glue on these little areas where you've got the decorative part or the really die cut. What you just want to do is go on that solid piece at the bottom there. So when you're doing that, make sure if you're using a tacky glue or in fact, let me just take that off and I'll be able to get a little bit more tacky glue out of there. So just to go around the base on the outside, all the way around. You can use your tape pens. Tape pens are slightly thicker. Things like red liner tape, you're going to have to try and get in that shape, which is quite tricky. So it just depends on which glue, but tacky glue is absolutely fine. And then we're going to pop that over the circular base so that this lovely scallop piece sits out, and then just attach. And having a tacky glue gives you a little bit of time to wiggle it into place. If you haven't lined it up properly, you've got a little bit of time to get that in place before it actually takes hold, grabs it and sticks that down. So you can again just go around and then wait for that to dry. And then you've got your time for tea little stand, just like so. And then whichever way you look at that, you've got that lovely feature going all the way around. And then the last things to do is just decide on your tags, how you're going to attach your tags. So I'm going to use a little bit of twine for this. I've got some twine that I pinched from James. Producer Liam, if you're listening, don't tell him I'm going to give it him back today, because I realised it was in my craft bag when I went away from work last week. Whoops. I don't normally take things out of this room, but for some reason I'd put it in my craft bag. I don't know why. Producer Liam said it's a good job I'm his favourite. Shh, don't tell Debs or Sheila. But yes, so I'm just going to pop that in. I bet James didn't even notice it had gone missing. I shan't lie, I bet he never even noticed. So I'm just going to thread those through. I think I'll put both on actually. Normally I wouldn't do, but we'll put both on. So I'll just thread those through. In fact, let me use my poker tool to see if I can get that through that hole. There we go. And then we'll just tie those together. And then we're just going to attach that round to the centre part. So literally taking that and then tying it around that little, the little circular disc that's at the top to get your tag onto there. And I'll just go a little double knots, shall I say, to keep that on there. And then just trim. So once you've trimmed that, and then for you to put your message onto your recipient, so you've got the bottom part. If you want to use your circular nesting dies at this point, you can use those to create a little mat there and a layer of maybe, in fact, the pink and then maybe the white, and then you could stamp a little sentiment onto there. But that's how you use your Time for Tea die set. So you can see now, looks absolutely gorgeous. And of course you could put lots more inside there. You could put little extra pieces if you wanted to. Just make sure for obviously when you're transporting this or when you're sending this that it stays fairly flat, because you can get that into a flat envelope. What's that? Let's get that piece off there. So you can see the dimension, it's really quite flat when you pop that together. But then when you take it up, it just stands there proud and nice and neat. So that's how you use your Time for Tea 3D die cut topper set. Whew, mouthful. Right, what do we do afterwards? Well, afterwards, you've got lots of things in your collections that you could be using. And the one that I was struck by, because of the shape of this design, was the peacock or the Graceful Plumes. I was thinking maybe if you've got like a birds or something like stamps or maybe some toppers, you could put those in, because it's got a little bit of a bird cage look to it as well. So for that, I did bring out my Graceful Plumes collection, and I've chosen a beautiful piece of paper from the Graceful Plumes 12 by 12. Went with these colours because I absolutely love them. I think they're so striking, they're divine. And I am going to cut out that beautiful topper with that, the cake stand part of it. So that's going to be for that. And then I've got all these colours from the linen pack that matched, because I was looking at it and I'm thinking, oh my life, which one do I choose that goes with all of those? Because I think all of them do. We'll decide in a second. And then I've just taken some plain Centura Pearl cardstock there. So we need the base cutting first. So I'm gonna have to decide, you know, Liam, which one shall I go with the base? let's have a little, oh, I say let's have a little look. I think I've got it. I think that's the one I'm going to go with. So that's going to be my base one. So we'll cut that out first, and then we will come to use something else in the Graceful Plumes, which is the beautiful stamp and die set. So again, you're going to need your larger plates for this. If I just put that in, I think I'll be able to get away with just running it through. Just pop that to the top with just the plastic shim and the other die cut plate. So let's just put that through there and then run that in. And then I'm going to cut out this gorgeous piece in this 12 by 12 because it's absolutely stunning, this paper. And this is the thing, you can cut it into absolutely anything. Let's just see if that's cut through perfectly. It has indeed. So that's going to be my base. Now I am also going to cut that out again, but I'm going to cut it out because I want to have quite a sturdy bottom. So I'm going to cut that out into this Centura Pearl. Now I'm going to just use it on the other side because I want the white bits, because I want to be able to put my sentiments that I'm going to stamp on there, or a die cut piece with a sentiment on there. So I'm just going to run that through again, and we'll stick those two pieces together. Now, even though linen cardstock is quite strong, it's 250 GSM, adding an extra layer to it gives it even more rigidity, especially if you're using your all-purpose glue, because that gives extra rigidity. It's like actually giving it an extra piece of cardstock in there. But I just want to give it that little bit extra, so we're going to stick those two panels down together in a second. So I'll just put those to one side. There we go. So we'll put those two. Let's move that out of the way. Then we'll come in with this, and then I'm going to have this part. Oh, now then, I think that's going to be the part that I'm going to pop that on. I think that looks really nice. So let me just cut that down to size. So if you've got a patterned paper, just think about where you're going to put that. I mean, really, I could have those two together as well, but I quite like that with the two together there. I think that looks really nice. So I'm just going to hold that down with a bit of tape. Let's just cut that to size. Trim that down. There we go. And then I'm going to just lift that off because I'm going to do it again where I put them both in together. So that over the top, and then that piece over as well, and then make sure you've got that really stuck down. So 2 or 3 pieces on there will keep it from moving or prevent it from moving. There we go. Now again, it is the really intricate part of the die, so you will need your magnetic shim in there to give that a nice clean cut again. And maybe again, this might need a double cut. So we'll go first forward. You usually can hear the change in the machine because you almost hear like a clicking sound when it's gone through. And you could hear the difference then in the machine? Slightly, but it just means that you can bring it back through. Or just again, just run it through for the second time there. So let me just move those out of the way. And then we are going to cut some tags and other pieces as well, because we do need our centerpiece. So we'll come back to that in a second. Let's just take that off. Again, just pull that towards me all the way around. And I'm just going to check that, but I think that's okay. So let me just have a look. Yeah, it's absolutely fine. Absolutely fine. So I'll just put that back onto there. And then let's take that out. Now, when you're taking it out, again, we need to manipulate it into that shape. Oh, that looks stunning in that paper. Oh, oh. So we will get our, again, it's just the easiest way that I can do. I just put my poker tool through there and just stretch all the way around, turning, so that I can get that that paper going into how it needs to be. It's just, honestly, this die set, it blows me away every time I use it. It's such an intricate die, but it's such a clever die to be able to get this kind of structure. It's absolutely stunning. In fact, I've never seen anything like it out there. And that, oh, look at that. That looks so lovely. Look at the dimension there with, oh, I love that. Absolutely love that. So I've got that all stretched into place. Look, it's even staying in place. That shows you how cracking that die is. What I do need to do though is, of course, that's where that's going to sit over the top. But of course, I need to get all my pieces stuck together. So I'm just going to put my, that's the texture. There we go. I was looking then at my texture. I was thinking, which way around is that? So let's just put that, that can be drying whilst we get all our other pieces cut. So I'm just going to stick that over the top, match that, and that gives me some real strength in my base now. But it also gives me an area to be able to write and put my sentiments and things like that, or stamp into there. So I'll just let that dry for 1 second. I'm going to bring in the rest of the die cut, the die pieces. So you've got like a tag. And then you've got your centre part, and the centre part you need because we are going to attach, and I'm using this beautiful stamp and die set from the Graceful Plumes with me using the papers. You can use anything, just bear in mind the size of it. And what I mean by that is like the size if it would fit in. So by looking at that piece, if I just bring this in, I can just about get that in, and I think that would work really lovely. It'll probably fill it, but I think that'll look really, really, really nice. So yeah, just bear that in mind when you're using your extra pieces. Don't go too big. Too big won't work. If you've got any of your ephemera packs and things like that, they might work. The only thing you have to think about is the mirror image, which is what I'm going to show you how to do in a second. So, excuse me, the first things first is we'll cut our base out. I need 2 of those. I want a really extra rigidity. I think I'm going to use the, I'm going to use the cardstock. So I've got a little bit of spare cardstock here. I'm going to use that twice. Of course, I could use the matching cardstock that goes through as well, but I'm going to stick to this. I think I'm going to have this, and I'm going to cut that out twice. So let's just run our pieces together and stick those down. Let me switch to my smaller plates. So popping that on, and I want 2 of those. And then I want a little tag. Ooh, let's have a think. Shall we have, I'm going to have a tag in that as well. So let's put that tag down. So, and then I'm going to run that through. Now, I probably won't need, but if I do, I'll just run it through twice. I'm just going to run that through and see if that cuts through both pieces. Should do. I think it will do. If not, I can always add the magnetic, that's right, magnetic. I always get my shims mixed up. I call them all sorts of different things. I hope I'm not the only one. Are you guys the same? I always call the magnetic the metal and the metal the magnetic. I do it the opposite way around. So I've got a lovely little tag, so I'll pop that to one side. And then hopefully, has that cut through? Yeah, that's cut through both. Of course it has. It's the Gemini, for goodness sake. What are you expecting? And that's a 310 each. That's 620 that's cut through. There we go. So I've got my mirror image. But again, it's just to give it a bit of strength rather than a one piece. So let's put those dies back. Ooh, 30 minutes left. I think we're going to be all right for time. I was debating. I was like, I want to do the 2 for 1 because I want to show you how to use it, just in case of those newbies that haven't seen this die set before, or just as a little refresher. But then I wanted to just go a little bit extra because this isn't one of those die sets that I think you can use in multiples of different ways. When we talk about one-trick ponies, only doing one thing, the design is, of course, the one thing, but then what you put in it is all the different things and all the different uses you can get out of it. We've got Halloween here. Look at this one with the Halloween. Love that. Look how cool that looks. And then little spooky paper and spooky ghosts. I just think that's absolutely incredible. So it could be a die that you use throughout the seasons. So yes, it was worth doing this. Right, I'm going to just add my glue onto my, call it an anchor. The pulley system, the lever system, I don't know what to call this one. But I need that first, and I also need, if you remember what I said, before you attach anything to it, I need to get that through the cardstock or the paper. So we're going to pop that in. I'm going to manipulate that anchor down again, just pretty much similar to what we did with the paper pad, so that I've got into place, so that's in situ. So we'll leave that there for the time being, and then we'll get on with our die cut, and I'll show you how to do the mirror image. Now, if you've got our silicone mat, now I'm going to have a little look to see if we've got, oh, Debbie, yes, we have got the silicone mat. It's a bit dirty, but it'll do. And I'll show you how you can create a mirror image. Of course, if you've got a jelly plate or anything like that, it'll work, but you can use your silicone mat, which I'll show you in a second. But first things first, we're going to do the first one that way, and then we'll do the mirror image. So, I'm going to pop that down. Now then, stamping mats and platform. Little bit of either Nina card. I know we don't do Nina card anymore, but we have substituted that with alcohol card. I think it's called alcohol marker cardstock. Just check the website. If you tap that in, it'll show you. But that's basically because I'm using tri-blend pens, and it's the best marker pad or the best paper. Super smooth, would work really nice with it as well. Right, so we'll go in with our ink pad. Can't find a black ink pad. I don't know where it's disappeared to. So I'm using Pebble, which is the, oh no, Flagstone, which is the grey, I think, in this. So I'm just going to try and get the coverage, all that I need across there. And then we'll pop that down onto cardstock and get a really nice image. Use your stamping platforms with your magnetic base or your sticky base, as I call it, the difference between the other one. But that looks, oh, actually, I've missed a little bit. I wonder if I can line that back up. Oh, that's because there's no ink on it. Well, tell you what, I think we'll get away with that. Don't think you can see it that much, can you? In fact, I've got a little outliner in my bag. So do you know what I'm going to do? I'm just going to join it up. So you can't even tell. Little top tip there if you do miss little areas. And there's a little bit, oh my days, I've missed his face. Look at that, Liam. What am I like? I should have used my stamping platform. I don't think I've inked it because I'm looking back on here and there's no ink on there. So let's just go in. Make sure I ink it better next time. But I think I can get away with that. Don't think that's too noticeable, is it? By the time you've got your colour on as well, there won't be that much difference. But in fact, let me just make sure. I'm going to show you now how to do the other side. So we need another piece of the alcohol-proof cardstock. So I've got a little spare bit there. Bringing in your mats, your silicone mats. And then I'm going to just get that down there. In fact, I might actually put a bit of the sponge under. Let me put the sponge underneath. It might give me a little bit more push. Because I haven't got a lot of strength in my hands at the minute, but we'll give it a go just to show you. So I'm going to run, in fact, I think I'll run it across first. Although it could be the ink pad, producer Liam, because the ink pads they're getting they're very well used, are our ink pads in this studio, and I think we could do with some more, but I think that's okay. I think that'll cover. I'll just make sure. I'm just switching up to another colour, but it'll be absolutely fine. As long as I've got the detail. Push that right down. At this point, these ink pads can now be switched to move upside down. When you know you've got an ink pad that's drying out, you can turn it that way. You wouldn't do it at the start because obviously they're quite juicy ink pads, but these are ink pads that we have used over and over and over again. And I mean over and over again. So we're going to pop that onto the silicone mat. I'm hoping there's not too much. I can see lots of sprays have been put on here and powders and things. So make sure your silicone mat is quite clean. Or your gel plates, because you can use gel plates as well. I'm hoping, let me just have a little peek underneath that I've caught everywhere. Just a little push back down on there. That'll do. And then pop your piece of cardstock over the top. And then just put it onto the top. Or get a brayer, if you've got a brayer. Now then, we did have a brayer in here. It's disappeared again, Liam. Oh, what are they like in this studio? They're always pinching things, aren't they? And then I can just lift that up. Yep, so just pop that down. If you use something that's got like, I'm just thinking, I don't even carry one in my bag. I've got one in the boot, but there's no good in the boot. But we'll just do it with our fingers. And you can check, because if you lift it up, you can see the transfer. So if I do the transfer, now I've got my mirror image. There you go. So you might not have a gel plate, but you might have a silica mat, which is the mixed media mat we call this. I think it's called the mixed media mat. Leanne uses it all the time, but that's how you create your mirror image. A gel plate would work really well as well, so you can do it onto a jelly plate. We don't do jelly plates, but they're out there on the market. But if you've got our silica mats, do it on there. And that literally, oh, bless you, thank you, Liam. He says, best thing I've ever seen you do. I have done it before, that technique. It's just something that I don't do often because it's not very often that I need the mirror image. But in this occasion, I absolutely do. So we're going to do the die cutting next because, of course, with the die cut, and now you're probably thinking, Debbie, how are you going to do that? Well, you can, of course, line it up. I mean, there's a little bit of a see-through there, and I can line it up. If I pick it up to the light, I can line that up across the outside. However, if you can't do that, take your little fussy cut scissors and cut around it, because honestly, but I'll show you how I do it. Light pad, yes, Liam, get your light pad, and that will give you the, you'll see the design, so you'll know how to get that on. I'm just going to line that up. Now, the reason I do it this way before colouring is because if you do make a mistake at this stage, there's no colouring involved, and you're not going to ruin, just in case, sometimes the placement of that can move during the die cutting stage. It can happen, it does happen, it's happened to me on many occasions, and I don't want to have wasted all my colouring time, especially as we're about 35 minutes into the show. I don't want to waste that colouring time. I want to make sure I get this project done. So that's why I would say at home, take your time, make sure it's struck down. But if you do make that mistake at this stage, you can just stamp it again. There's no harm done. What you would be doing, and I've done it before in the past, cried because it literally, I've coloured my image in, then put the stamp over, and then it's moved during the die cutting bit. So it's always best to stamp, die cut, and then do the colouring. So let me lift that up. I'm just going to lift it up. So if you did have your light pad, but again, you can literally, one good thing about having all these lights in the studio is the fact that I can actually see where I'm going with that. And I think that looks about right, if Debbie's eyes aren't deceiving her. Again, if it's too, if you know, just take your little fussy cut scissors, but you could do it that way if you wanted to. We'll have a look and see how that's done. If worst comes to the worst, I'll just do that reverse image again. At that stage, there's no harm done really, because I haven't done any colouring. If I just bring that out, we can have a little look now. And then, of course, you've got, and that worked beautifully. Couldn't have asked for anything better. That worked absolutely perfect. So that's how you would do your mirror image. And then, of course, those two stick together. Now, we're not going to stick together right now because we've got a colour, but we've also got to attach that to the stand. So that is how you do your mirror image stamping. There you go. You didn't think you were going to learn that today in the craft along, did you? Right, so I'm just going to grab a spare piece of cardstock just to have underneath for when I'm colouring. And I know it's a different colour, but that's only because I ran out of the grey, but it doesn't really matter because once this is coloured in, it will look absolutely fine. I'm going to use my little peacock paper here as a little guide for the colours that I want to use. Now, the colours that I've brought in for this particular one are our tri-blends, and I've gone with citrus blend, burnt orange, ice blue, I've got blue turquoise, and I've got green turquoise. You can use any. It's your project, it's down to you. What colour peacock do you want to do? But I'm going to use this as a guide. So let me grab we'll go with blue turquoise blends and shades for the first part. And I'm going to start with the lightest. So you're just going to take your pens and then colour. And I'll work in sections, so I'm just going to work in this section first. If you've got your brush tri-blends, you'll get, of course, a lay down of colour quicker. But I think we'll be okay for time, so we'll just go straight in and lay down and work in the sections. So I'll start with the lightest. And I'll just work in that area first. Now, if you want to do a bit of block colouring, that's absolutely fine. I just wanted a little bit of shade and dimension to mine, so I am going to be using the other deeper colours. So I'm going to go in with the darkest part. Just put it round his little chest there, a little bit under the wing, then a little bit over the top, and then come into the middle bit. So taking it over the top to get that blend, just little circular motions. And then back in with the light. Again, take it across, not be careful too much because otherwise you'll bleed. This has got the most alcohol in this lightest shade, so it does bleed that out. I have brought the shades in though because the next, the same colour, so I've gone with turquoise, blue turquoise blend, but also two blue turquoise shades because you've got deeper colours in here. So these ones are your, and I'll give you the codes for these, 3, 4 and 5, but then you move up to 7, 8 and 9. So I'm just going to come in with a 7 just to add a little bit of extra depth just into areas around his chest, around his legs, a little bit under the wing there, and just a little bit over there. And then I'm going to just add little dots just in the top there. And then we'll go in and we'll start with now all the extra areas. So I'm going to use similar colours, but I also got to bring in another, I've got like greens in this one. So I've got with the green turquoise. Oh, tell you what we'll start with. We'll do a little bit of the, you know, the little feathers. So we'll go in with citrus. But I am going to just go straight in and block colour. Just these areas. And then I'm going to bring in the orange to add a little bit of colour to that as well. I'm working one at a time. So when we do this now, let me just bring in a little bit of orange just to add over the top. That way. And then let's go back in and just blend those two together so it's not as harsh. Oops, missed that one. There we go. Just add that little bit of orange into there, and that one. There we are. So that's the first one. Then I'll move to the, so that's my shades. Let's make sure I'm not getting myself all mixed up here. I'll keep those over there because I've ended up with pens all over, all open. There we go. So we'll move now on to the green turquoise blend, and I'm just going to come in a bit of green down this side. Now, if you want to take your time, I'm doing this quite quickly because we're up against the clock today. 18 minutes. Oh. So I just want to add a little bit of different shading. So that's why I've gone with the blue turquoise and the green one to add a bit of shade between the two. Let's just, in fact, if I undo those, it might make it a bit quicker. There we go. Mid. Over there. In fact, go back into dark. Let's just go in and just add around. You'll take your time at home. You can enjoy that colouring process. But again, I just want to try and get this project all together. Did tell you I set myself a challenge at the start. I thought I did say an hour, 2 projects. I think I've lost my mind. But do you know what? Yeah, it's worth trying it, isn't it? And just to show you as well the kind of things that you can be doing. So again, I would take a little bit more extra time with that, but at this stage, I think we'll be okay. Shall we give him a yellow beak? Go on, we'll give him a yellow beak. There we are. And then I'm going to come back in. Ooh, what colour would his leg be, Liam? Shall we go grey? Actually, we'll go ice blue. We'll give him an ice blue leg. Oh, I've missed another one. Do you know, every time you look up, there's another colour there. How? It's fine, isn't it? It's okay. So for this stage, I'm going to go back in. In fact, actually, I'll use the green again, the green turquoise there. And then just add, again, a little bit of dark underneath, a bit of the mid. And then a little bit there. Oh, it's done it again to me, look. I genuinely, I look up and I see another piece. I'm like, what's going off? Can you see any more, anybody? That'll do. And then I'm going to go back in with, oh, now then, I think we might have a little bit of a mixture of this one. So, again, I'm just going to go really quickly with the light. In fact, I think I'm going to use all this green because I quite like this green. Of course, with the peacock, you can go any colours you want. You can have your purples in there, can't you? What else? Blues. A rainbow. Oh, I like the idea of a rainbow peacock, Liam. That sounds really cool. Yeah, that sounds good. All right, so let's go in and very quickly lay down all of that colour. Again, at home, you'll take your time with this one. You won't rush this. This is just Debbie speed crafting. Is Jamie in, Liam? He'd be super proud of me, you know, because he knows what I'm like. I normally do my shows, pre-records with our lovely Jamie, but he'd be really proud of me right now, Liam. I hope you're proud of me too, getting all this done. Mind you, saying that, guess what I've got to do? I've got to do the mirror image part. I have. So again, I'm just going to come down. I'll just emphasise just around like the ends of the feathers, because we can just go in and put the mid-tone. Again, just take your time at home. Don't be doing a Debbie and rushing, or speed crafting, or speed colouring in this case. I just want to get all of that shade in. How am I doing for time, Liam? 15 minutes, so only 3 minutes have moved on. I think we should be okay. Although, we'll see. Because once this colouring's done, what else we're going to do is attach it to the base of your stand. So again, I'm just going to come back in with the mid-tone, go over the top so that you get that blend. Just go in there. Again, if you've got your Tri-Blend brush pens, Debbie, you can get your colour down very quick. With these stamps, I do like to use my Tri-Blend pens. And the only reason being there is they've got a little bit more of a precise nib where you can get in to those nooks and crannies of the, it depends on the design of your stamp that you're using. But again, if I just go in over the top there we go, and try and blend out that colour, and then I'll go back over with the light. Oh, that's not light, Debbie, that's light. There we go. So like I said, you'll take your time at home. I'm quite happy with this. I'm just going to make sure, oh, didn't put your mid there, Debs. Oh, that's dark again. What am I like? I do it all the time. And then back in with the lights so that I get that blend. There we go. That'll do. That looks okay. Happy with that. So bringing in your mirror image, you're going to do the same. So repeat the colours in the same way. So we'll start with the yellow. We'll go in there. I'm just going to try and get those bits in first because there were that many of them. I kept missing bits. I'm going to put that in. Let's go in with the orange. There we go. Right, so that's that one. Can you see? Oh, I've seen another one. Go back in with the yellow just to blend out those two together. I remember having peacock feathers in my mum's room back in the 80s. They were on the fireplace and we had them in a big vase. Beautiful, great big peacock. Not real peacock feathers, of course, fake ones, but I was always drawn to them as a young child looking at them because I thought I was fascinated by them. I think that's what started my love affair with a little peacock. Right, now we're going to go back in. So remember the first colour, we had the blue turquoise. So we're going to go back in with the blue turquoise. And get that part of his body done. So all of that's light in. Then we're going to go in again with the dark. Actually, we can go straight in with the dark one. So we'll go in with the dark, which is the shade 7. Get that round his belly. Give him a big belly there, around the edge, just underneath. And then we'll go in with the dark of the blue turquoise blend. And then just over the top to get that blend again going. And then the mid-tone. Again over the top. And then back over with the light. And then I'm going to just pop little dark dots at the top. And then we're going to move back to the green turquoise. So we'll come in with the green. Now, because I want to get this down, I'm going to go straight over the top because I'm going to time check my lovely producer again just to make sure. 10. I think it's doable. I think it's doable. I know I am like a little count. I could do a little countdown clock, couldn't I? We should have a little clock up, you know, so we can see what we're doing. Because I don't know about anybody else. When I'm on a craft along, I get carried away. I'll just tell you what Liam said. He said, "That's what I'm here for. I just shout in your ear." That's very true, Liam. That is very true. That's what you're here to do, aren't you? Keep me in check. Of course, because you know what I'm like. I get carried away with time. Can't be helped. Especially when I'm colouring. When I'm colouring, I don't know about anybody else, but time just flies by. I look up and there's like a couple of hours disappeared out of my life when I'm colouring. But I won't have it any other way because it's one of those lovely crafts. Very mindful, Liam, very mindful. Oh, what did we have as a leg? It was the ice blue, weren't it? Was it the light one? I think it was, yeah. And then let's just get the last bit of colour down using the green again. So I'm going to come in and just pop colour into these areas. Again, you would take your time at this stage. And you would perhaps concentrate on an area at a time rather than what I'm doing, which is laying down colour all in one. Just take little areas at a time and work it. Because you won't be under the pressure of a clock ticking down in your ear telling you that you've got 10 minutes left, or now I'm thinking about 8. Yeah, I thought so. I thought a couple of minutes would have passed, but that's okay. We're okay for time. And then let's go in and add the dark again. So if we just give areas through the tail, feather ends, around each one of those. At the bottom, like I said, you'd take your time with this. Let's go around that side, around that one, around there, a little bit down into those, and then mid colour. And then again, just around those edges. So this is normally when we've got like a presenter with us who can fill in the silent gaps there, but I'm hoping you're crafting along. What I would like to see is if you are crafting along with a time for tea, maybe you're not chosen the Graceful Plumes, maybe you've chosen something else. Share your makes across the pages, but make sure you tag us in. So I'm a Crafter's Companion is, of course, our community group where you post your makes, your inspirational makes. I try and go in there time to time and have a little look at the kind of things that you're doing. If you tag me in things, I try and respond as well. So yeah, tag me in your makes with your time for tea. Let me have a little nosy. I am a nebby sort. They didn't call me Nebby Debbie at school for nothing, you know, because I do like to have a little neb at what people are getting up to with their makes and get that inspiration, because we all get inspiration from everyone and copying ideas or maybe like sparking off a little idea on how to use things. So yeah, share and tag. Let me see what you're up to. Let me see what you're making with your lovely images there. So let me just put all my tops on because I know what I'm like. So if I get a little bit of housekeeping done there, all the pen lids back on. Now if you want to make it pop a little bit more, of course you could go around the outside, which is why I did fetch the ice blue in, because we've lost our grey. I don't even know where it's gone. It's disappeared, the grey blend. Not going to do that though, because we are probably on about 5 minutes now. 5.5. Hey-ho. Right, so we need to get these two pieces together. Of course, we're going to put this piece down first. Now, I'm just going to measure this quickly to make sure that I've got a bit of room for this so that when it does fold flat, it's not going to bend or flatten. So I just want to make sure I've got that on. Now, it'll be different to what I've been able to do with the time for tea, because the time for tea, obviously, the teapot went into the centre. So I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to put let's have a little measure. So if I flatten that, let's flatten it for a second. Let's take that out. Let's just measure that up. Yeah, so about there. So if I put a bit of glue just onto that part of and then of course I need glue all the way around this now, because I'm going to stick the two pieces together. So I'm going to put that all the way around. Tacky glue at this stage I would probably advise using. I think it's the better glue to use for this part, but let's just get that stuck down and then make sure we've got the area, because again, decide on the size. So if I just lift that up, you can see I think that should be okay. You could trim that little bit off, would you? Because it looks a little bit odd, so you could trim. Let's trim that off. I don't think it'll do anything to it, because it's just the lever for the pulley up part, if that's the right word I'm thinking of there using. And then just attach those two pieces together like so. And then of course we could stamp something into there. I'll keep it for now. What I think I will do, how long have I got for time, Liam? 4 minutes. It's doable, it's doable. Let's have a quick peek. Maybe use that side. Yeah, I think I'll use that side. So let me just grab that die again. And then, have we got the minute? Yes, we've got the minute. Saves me having to put the big plates through. And then I'll just pop the tag back in again, but on the least pattern side. Where's my little mini plate? I've got one in my bag. Let's just bring that out. So if I put, and then I can stick those two together, and I've got a pattern side, and then I've got somewhere to do the writing to whoever you're sending this to. Would help, Debbie, not to stick it onto the paper. There we are, that's better. There we go. So let's get that onto there. And then stick those two pieces. Ooh, that twine might come in handy again. Let's just pop onto the tape there, stick that bit down. Have we got some ribbon? Let's have a look. So how am I doing for time again? 2.5 minutes. Can she do it? Can she do it? Let's have a little look, because all we need to do now is thread our ribbon through. Let's have a quick peek. And then stick the base together. So I'll just put a little knot in that side. I'm going to tie that around the top, but I'll do this bit first. So bringing back in your base, we now need to get the base stuck down. So again, take your tacky glue, just go around. Oh, has it? Oh, I thought it had dried up then with me being busy colouring there. Just around the outside again. Careful not to get your glue on your image there. So if I go all the way around, and just on that thick round circle base, let's pop that down, and then just attach that to the base again. So let's pop, that looks about right. There we go. Let's just, in fact, I'm just going to pick that up just for a second, just so I can get it. It gives me a bit of time to wiggle that into place. So I need that to set though, and I'm going to just pop my little peacock up. There we go. And then I'm going to wrap my tag around the outside there. In fact, let's just go in, pop a little bow on the top. Of course, twine works lovely with these, but I think a ribbon would look really nice as well. So let's just pop that down. And then I'm just going to trim the edges, like so. And there you go. You've got your, oh, doesn't he look regal in there? So, 2 for the price of 1 today, guys. I have given you how to use it with your topper pad that comes with the kit. And then this is your way that you can take it and use it beyond the time for tea, beyond the digital downloads that you can get with that pad once that pad's gone. Don't forget you get 20 in the pad that you can make, but you can then take it into your crafting and beyond. I showed you a few samples at the start. I just want to say thank you very much for joining me this Saturday afternoon, for taking the time to join me on the Craft Along, or if you're watching this on catchback or playback or whatever it is that you call it. Thank you so much. There is another show coming up at 4 o'clock, Make It Saturday, so make sure you tune in then. I'll see you all very soon. Bye for now.